We all know the lights, the trees, the gifts. But what if I told you the story behind it all is packed with some major surprises? We're gonna unwrap a history that's got some twists you probably never saw coming. So, let's just get right to it. Here's the big question that really kicks off this whole discussion. Is Christmas actually a Christian holiday? I mean, really? You might think the answer is an obvious yes, but believe me, it is way more complicated than that. Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. We'll start with that central question, then dig into three big arguments. Its pagan foundations, how it became a commercial invention, and the whole idea of biblical silence. Then we'll wrap up by talking about what this all means for us today. First up, let's talk about the pagan foundations. This is where things get really interesting, because it turns out that a lot of what we think of as Christmas traditions were around long before Christianity ever was. Okay, let's start with the date itself, December 25th. Well, back in ancient Rome, that date was a huge deal. It was a festival called Dies Natalis Solis Invicti, which means the birthday of the Unconquered Sun. It was all about celebrating the sun god, Mithra, right after the winter solstice. When the days finally start getting longer again, a celebration of light returning. Sound familiar? And this timeline really shows you how it all happened. So fast forward to the 4th century. The Roman Emperor Constantine converts to Christianity. Now he's got this massive empire full of people who are still celebrating their old pagan festivals, especially the birthday of the Unconquered Sun. What do? Well, you can't just ban it, so you rebrand it. The thinking was basically, okay, our new sun is Jesus. We can't get rid of this popular festival, so let's just make it about Jesus' birth instead. And boom, just like that, the first official Christmas celebration is recorded in Rome in 336 on the exact. Pretty clever, right? But it wasn't just about the date. What about the Christmas tree? Well, that has some seriously deep pagan roots too. Think about it. In the middle of a cold, dead winter, evergreen trees stay green. For a lot of ancient cultures, that made them a powerful symbol of eternal life. The promise that the sun and warmth would come back. It was a symbol of hope. Okay, let's jump forward in time, way forward. For our second argument, we're looking at how Christmas became a commercial invention. Because the modern image of the holiday, you know, the one in all the stores, that wasn't really shaped by religion. It was shaped by business. And this is where we meet the man himself. So let's get this straight. On one hand, you have the real Saint Nicholas. He was a Christian bishop back in the 4th century in what's now Turkey. Real guy, known for being super generous and giving gifts in secret. But then you have Santa Claus, a magical guy who lives at the North Pole with elves and flying reindeer. These are absolutely not the same person, not even close. And you know what's wild? The image we all have in our heads of Santa Claus is incredibly new. I mean, check out this quote from a New York Times article in 1863. It's one of the first times anyone described Father Christmas as a cheerful, chubby man, a favorite of children. This wasn't some ancient folklore passed down for centuries. It was literally an idea from the 1800s, and that idea just took off. It was like building an icon from scratch. Step 1, you have the idea in that newspaper article. Step 2, an artist named Thomas Nast starts drawing this jolly character for magazines, giving him a face. But the final touch, step 3 in the 1920s. A certain beverage company, Coca-Cola, runs this massive ad campaign that solidifies his look forever with that bright red and white suit. A perfect match for the brand colors, right? It was marketing use. You know, there's actually a word for this. It's called folklore. It's basically manufactured folklore, Something that's made up, usually for commercial reasons, but passed off as if it's some genuine ancient tradition. And honestly, the modern Santa Claus might just be the most successful piece of folklore ever created. All right, on to our third and final argument. And this one is a biggie, especially from a theological perspective. We're talking about the biblical silence. Because for a holiday that's supposed to be all about the birth of Jesus, the Bible has surprisingly little to say about it. And look, this isn't some new hot take. People have been questioning and debating the origins of Christmas for centuries. This page here from an old text shows that these arguments have been around for a long time. So, let's actually break down what those arguments are. So, when you look at the core arguments against the celebration, they usually boil down to this. 1, it's become way too commercialized. No surprise there. 2, there's literally no instruction in the Bible that says, celebrate my birthday. 3, as we've seen, its traditions are soaked in paganism. 4, we don't actually know when Jesus was born. And 5, it brings in totally mythological characters like Santa Claus. There's a fact that might blow your mind. For the first few centuries of Christianity, nobody celebrated Christmas. It just wasn't a thing. The early Christians were focused on other parts of the story. The whole idea of a big birthday party for Jesus came much, much later. Okay? So we've looked at the pagan roots, the commercial makeover, and the fact that it's not really in the Bible. After all that, where does that leave us? It's time to think about what this massive global tradition really means today. So let's just boil it down to the 3 main takeaways from all this. Number 1, Christmas is built on a foundation of ancient pagan traditions. Number 2, the Santa Claus and the Christmas we see in stores, that's a pretty recent invention driven by business. And number 3, there's no actual biblical command to celebrate the holiday in the first place. So, knowing everything we've just talked about, that modern Christmas is this incredible mashup of pagan festivals, Christian rebranding, and modern marketing, we're left with one final question. And look, the point here isn't to say celebrating is right or wrong. It's just to understand the fascinating, complicated history behind it all. So with all that in mind, I want you to think about it. What does Christmas actually mean to you?